In an industry where every smile is measured, every word rehearsed, and every movement framed by expectation, there are rare moments that slip through the cracks, moments so unguarded they feel almost forbidden. And that is exactly why the story of Soo Kai and Tan Songyun has ignited the imagination of millions, because what began as professional collaboration has evolved into a sequence of moments so tender, so consistent, and so emotionally charged that it challenges the very boundary between performance and reality, drawing audiences into a slow-burning mystery that refuses to be dismissed as coincidence. And it all hinges on a single heartbeat of time when the cameras were rolling, the crowd was roaring, and Soo Kai, without script or safety net, let two words fall from his lips, my love, words that landed not as dialogue, but as instinct, sending a visible ripple through Tan Songyun, whose startled smile, flushed cheeks, and fleeting eye contact told a story no publicist could ever script. And from that instant onward, the internet was no longer asking if something was happening, but how long it had already been happening, because when you rewind the timeline carefully, frame by frame, gesture by gesture, the signs were always there, hiding in plain sight like quiet sparks waiting for oxygen, from the early days on set when their chemistry startled even veteran directors, to behind-the-scenes footage where Soo Kai's attention seemed magnetically drawn to Tan Songyun, adjusting her microphone wire with careful fingers, leaning in just a breath too close during whispered conversations, and watching her with an expression that softened his famously stoic demeanor, while she responded not with rehearsed charm but with genuine laughter that crinkled her eyes and dissolved the distance between them. And fans noticed, because fans always notice, compiling clips of synchronized movements, shared glances during interviews, mirrored body language at press events, and moments of instinctive protection, an arm reaching out when she stumbled, a hand guiding her through crowds, a quiet check-in during long night shoots when exhaustion set in, all of which felt less like promotional choreography and more like the muscle memory of care. And as their drama aired and audiences became emotionally invested in their on-screen love story, something fascinating happened. The off-screen moments began to feel even more convincing than the scripted ones, especially during promotional events where Soo Kai's composure cracked just enough to reveal nervous smiles and blushing pauses whenever Tan Songyun was mentioned, while she teased him with playful confidence that hinted at familiarity rather than formality, creating a dynamic that felt lived in, intimate, and deeply human. And then came the night that changed everything, the brand event in late 2025, where a near stumble turned into a viral explosion, when Soo Kai caught Tan Songyun instinctively and murmured, "My love, be careful," into a live microphone, freezing the room for a split second before applause erupted and the internet detonated, because her reaction was not one of surprise alone but recognition. A soft laugh paired with eyes that searched his face as if confirming something already known between them, and from that point on, every past interaction was re-examined under a new lens, including the quiet Beijing dinner captured by paparazzi weeks earlier, where the two arrived separately yet left together after hours of close conversation, no entourage, no spectacle, just shared space and unguarded smiles, with Soo Kai opening the car door for her and lingering until she was safely inside. A small gesture that spoke volumes in an industry obsessed with image control, and still their agencies remained silent, allowing the story to breathe, to grow, to pull fans deeper into speculation that felt less like rumor and more like collective observation. Because this wasn't built on a single clip but on years of accumulated moments, matching accessories spotted months apart, social media likes that appeared and vanished, airport sightings timed too perfectly to ignore, interviews where descriptions of ideal partners sounded uncannily like descriptions of each other, and memories shared at fan meetings that revealed concern, warmth, and emotional investment that extended far beyond professional obligation. And when placed against the backdrop of Chinese entertainment culture, where privacy is guarded fiercely and public affection is rare, these moments carried even greater weight, transforming a simple endearment into a symbol of emotional risk. And perhaps that is why this story resonates so deeply, because it mirrors something universal. the quiet, terrifying, beautiful act of letting your guard down in front of the world, and yet the deeper one looks, the clearer it becomes that this connection was never built overnight, but layered slowly through shared experiences that shaped trust, comfort, and an unspoken understanding that fans can sense even without confirmation, from the grueling overnight shoots where exhaustion strips away pretense and only genuine care remains, to the subtle way Soo Kai's posture changes when Tan Songyun enters a room, shoulders easing, voice softening, as though the noise of the industry fades just enough for him to breathe, and Tan Songyun, often praised for her emotional intelligence, responding not by retreating, but by meeting him halfway, grounding his intensity with warmth, humor, and a steady presence that seems to anchor him amid the chaos of fame. And it is in these in-between spaces, the pauses, the glances, the half-smiles, that the most compelling evidence resides, because actors can rehearse lines and gestures, but they cannot easily rehearse instinct, and instinct is what keeps surfacing again and again in their story. Whether it is Soo Kai instinctively positioning himself between Tan Songyun and aggressive flashes at events, or Tan Songyun instinctively turning toward him when laughter erupts around them, seeking his reaction first, as if it matters most, and fans, deeply attuned to these nuances, have turned observation into collective memory, archiving moments that individually could be dismissed, but together form a pattern too consistent to ignore, such as the way they unconsciously mirror each other's movements during interviews, cross legs in the same direction, sip water at the same moment, or lean forward simultaneously when the other speaks. Subtle synchronizations psychologists often associate with emotional attunement rather than coincidence, and as this pattern gained visibility, the narrative shifted from speculation to fascination, not driven by scandal, but by longing, the longing to believe that something authentic can survive under relentless scrutiny, that two people navigating fame can still find solace in each other without needing to announce it to the world. And this longing is precisely what fuels the viral nature of their story, because it allows audiences to project their own hopes onto it, transforming Soo Kai and Tan Songyun from distant celebrities into symbols of quiet romance in a noisy world. And this symbolism only deepened as fans began revisiting old interviews with new perspective, noticing how Soo Kai once described his ideal partner as someone whose presence feels warm and reassuring after a long day, words that align uncannily with Tan Songyun's public image and on-set reputation, while Tan Songyun, when asked about chemistry with co-stars, once remarked that the best connections are the ones where conversation flows effortlessly even in silence, a comment that feels less abstract when viewed alongside footage of her standing comfortably beside Soo Kai without the need for constant dialogue, and even when confronted with dating rumors directly, both actors have chosen deflection over denial, laughter over distance, responses that neither confirm nor shut the door completely, leaving space for interpretation rather than finality. And in an industry where aggressive denial is often the norm, this restraint feels telling, as though protecting something delicate rather than extinguishing speculation, and this protection extends to their actions as well, from carefully timed arrivals that avoid direct association yet still align closely, to coordinated schedules that place them in the same cities with plausible deniability, patterns fans have mapped meticulously, not out of intrusion but devotion, driven by the belief that what they are witnessing is not a publicity stunt, but a real relationship navigating constraints. And the emotional weight of that belief intensified following the "my love" moment, because endearments are not casual slips, they are habits formed in private spaces, and once spoken aloud they carry the residue of repetition, suggesting familiarity that cannot be manufactured. In a split second, and Tan Songyun's response, equal, why unfiltered, sealed the moment in collective memory, because her expression lacked the confusion one might expect from a purely accidental remark and instead carried the softness of recognition, as if she understood exactly where the words came from and chose not to correct them, allowing the moment to exist as it was, unpolished and real, and that choice, to let it linger, may be the most revealing detail of all, because in doing so, both actors allowed audiences to glimpse something unguarded, even if only briefly, and since then, every new appearance, every interview, every shared space has been watched with heightened sensitivity, not out of voyeurism, but anticipation, as fans wait to see whether the next chapter will bring confirmation, distance, or simply more quiet moments that speak louder than declarations. And through it all, the agency's silence continues to amplify the story rather than diminish it, because absence of narrative creates room for organic storytelling driven by observation rather than instruction, and this organic unfolding is what keeps the fascination alive, because it feels participatory, inviting audiences to slow down, to look closely, to engage not just with spectacle but with nuance. And whether this story ultimately leads to public acknowledgement or remains suspended in ambiguity, its impact is already undeniable, having transformed a single spontaneous phrase into a cultural touchstone that represents vulnerability in an environment built on control, reminding us that even within rigid structures, human emotion finds a way to surface, and perhaps that is the real reason millions cannot look away, not because they demand answers, but because they recognize something profoundly human reflected back at them, the delicate tension between what is felt and what is allowed to be shown, the courage it takes to care quietly, and the beauty of moments that are not announced, but overheard. And if Sukai and Tan Songyun's story continues to unfold in fragments rather than headlines, it may be precisely because fragments feel truer, leaving us with a narrative that is not consumed in one sitting, but savored over time, lingering in memory long after the screens go dark. And so whether Sukai's words were a slip or a revelation, whether Tan Songyun's smile was surprise or confirmation, the truth remains that audiences are witnessing something rare, a connection that feels organic, unscripted, and unresolved. A story still unfolding in real time, inviting us not to judge but to watch closely, to slow down, to feel the tension between what is shown and what is withheld, because sometimes the most powerful love stories are not announced, they are overheard, and if this truly was just the beginning, then the chapters ahead may be even more breathtaking than anything written so far, and that is why this moment matters, why it lingers, and why millions cannot look away. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this deep dive. And if you enjoy thoughtful storytelling that uncovers the hidden emotions behind the headlines, don't forget to subscribe to 24H News, TM, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below, because your perspective is part of this story too.